Gopi Jana Girivarana Gopi Jana Girivarana Sudanandan Vajajanarandana Yasuranandana Vajajanarandana Yamunati Panatani Yamunatira Vanapani Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjalihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjalihari Gopi Jana Girivarana Gopi Jana Girivarana Yasuranandana Brajajanarandana Yasuranandana Brajajanarandana Gamunatira Vanatani Yamunatira Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Parivajagacharya Stutara Satya Seshimati Divine Grace. ISKCON founder Charya Jagat Guru A.C. Bhakti Dhira Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Stutara Satya Seshimati Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Friends, Guru Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyama Murara Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Mathura Dham ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. Jamuna Mai ki Jai. Ganges Mai ki Jai. Tulasi Devi ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glorious assembled devotees. All glorious assembled devotees. All glorious assembled devotees. Glory to Sri Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Savakaya Chakshuranguritanjana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sarvichanjana Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Upatakamaram Sri Guru Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagyajatan Sahagana Raghunatan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Jaganuvarita Sri Visakantamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavani Shri Vrisabhari Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sandhuvyaye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Prabhupada Lilamrta ki The final instruction. He was resting when they arrived, and they joined the kirtan until he awoke. When he saw them, he asked to be raised up. Sitting in the center of his bed with his god brothers all around, he addressed them. All over the world, there is a beautiful field to preach Krishna consciousness, he said. I didn't care whether I would be successful or not. People are willing to take. They are all taking also. If we preach together, the saying of Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Dhira, will come true. We have everything. Spread the holy name and distribute prasada. There is a beautiful field in Africa, in Russia, everywhere. They are accepting. When Prabhupada began asking his brothers to forgive him, he protested. They protested. You are the eternal leader. One of them asserted. You rule over us, guide us, and chastise us. Forgive all my offenses, Prabhupada repeated. I became proud of all my opulence. No, said Puri Maharaj, you never became proud. When you started preaching, opulence and success followed you. That was the blessing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Krishna. There cannot be any question of your being offensive. When Srila Prabhupada presented himself as Mahapatita, greatly fallen, Puri Maharaj did not accept it. You have saved millions of people around the world, he said. Therefore, there is no question of offenses, but you should be called Mahapatita Pavana, the great savior of the fallen. Prabhupada's disciples regarded Prabhupada's asking for his godbrother's forgiveness as a manifestation of his humility. But they were also puzzled. Certainly, Prabhupada's godbrothers were sincere in saying Prabhupada had committed no offense. Whatever he had done for Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada was also sincere in asking for forgiveness. That was the beautiful gem of his humility, to ask everyone for forgiveness. For the purpose of preaching, displaying this gem had not always been the most effective way to spread the merciful teachings of Lord Krishna in every town and village. But now it could be displayed in London and now in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was showing his disciples extra affection and gratitude without the reprimands usually necessary in training disciples. It's a very important point. Very important. If you had displayed only humility, nothing would have worked. So there's this chastisement, which may seem not a humility, but that is also humility, because it is not motivated by pride, not by anger, not by envy. It is out of love. When there is care, when you care for someone, when you really care for someone, this correction is necessary. Correction is necessary when you care for someone. So he did that. Now, the time of humility is necessary. This attitude of complete humility was a symptom of the highest stage of devotional life. Srila Prabhupada had explained in his books that the Madhyama and the Kari, the second-class devotee, makes distinctions between the devotees, the innocent, non-devotees, and the demons. Whereas the Maha-Bhagavat, or first-class devotee, sees everyone except himself as a servant of God. Sometimes, however, the Maha-Bhagavat desires to come down from the first-class platform just to take up the most compassionate service of preaching Krishna consciousness. This is not a fall down. It is not a fall down that has come from first class to second class. It's not a fall down. It is for service. He still maintains his position as Maha-Bhagavat. Just like it is not a fall down for a professor to hold a child's hand and be teaching the child how to write A, B, C, D. The professor is not learning A, B, C, D, but is helping the child who cannot write to do that. It's not a fall down. Prabhupada's disciples had all read of the Maha-Bhagavat stage in the scriptures, and now they were seeing it fully displayed, as Prabhupada referred to himself as the most holy and asked for everyone's forgiveness. So the Prabhupada had heard of the program of his disciple Lilamrta Swami. He was taking a small group of men in a bullock cart and preaching in villages throughout India. Lilamrta had told Srila Prabhupada how in the course of their travels, they had recently visited tirthas such as Badrikashram and Bhim Kapur. So the Prabhupada was enlivened to hear this, and he then evolved a transcendental desire to go himself on a cart pulled by bullocks to circumambulate the area of Vrindavan. Ramakrishna and Bhavananda, who were serving Prabhupada with increased intimacy, felt themselves unable to support Srila Prabhupada in desire. Seeing they thought his fragile body could not survive such rough treatment on the road. But Srila Prabhupada reasoned that dying on parikrama is glorious. And he asked them to take him. A controversy developed among the devotees, as some said Prabhupada's will to go on parikrama should be immediately honored as an order from the spiritual master. He wanted it, and it should not be denied. The doctor, however, assured them that Srila Prabhupada's body would not survive the jostling of the cart. The many devotees who crowded around Prabhupada and Prabhupada's bed held different opinions, and Prabhupada could see this. Following his request, however, Lokanath went out and hired a cart with bullocks and prepared it for the ride. Lokanath and Hamsadutta suggested that the parikrama could go to the city of Vrindavan or visit the 7 main temples of the Goswamis. But then, they said that since the next day was Govardhan Puja, Prabhupada could go to Govardhan Hill. Ramakrishna, Bhavananda, and Bhakti Charu, however, protested adamantly against the parikrama. One day experiment, Prabhupada said, it is one day. Rest assured, I will not die in one day. He liked the idea of going to Govardhan. And we shall make our cooking there, he said. Lokanath Swami, he assured them, was experienced. Make very good picnic, he said. After discussing back and forth, the devotees finally decided that early the next morning they would take Srila Prabhupada in a bullock cart to Govardhan. The majority of the devotees then left Srila Prabhupada alone for the night. Later that night, Srila Prabhupada received a visit from the Skinchana Krishnadas Babaji, who was sat with Prabhupada, chanting and sometimes speaking in Bengali. Suddenly, Ramakrishna and Bhavananda came to Prabhupada's bed and said, they were in tears and beside themselves with anxiety. Prabhupada understood. You requested me not to go? He asked. Where is Srila Prabhupada? Said Ramakrishna. I will tell you, I am getting so upset sitting in the room upstairs. I was walking around. 2 of the devotees told me that this road is so bad that if you go on this road, you are going to be jolted back and forth. The road is terrible. I just can't understand Srila Prabhupada. Why? It has to be tomorrow that we have to go. Of anybody that wants you to travel, I do. But why do we have to go when you are in this condition? I can't understand it. Why we are throwing everything out the window that we must go tomorrow? I can't understand. All right, says Srila Prabhupada softly. immediately agreeing to their proposal that he not go. Jai Srila Prabhupada, said Bhakti Charu, who was also present. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda with great relief. All right, you are satisfied? Now I am, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda. Yes, I was in too much anxiety. Never mind, I shall not put you in anxiety. Actually, Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, we are so much attached to you that you practically drive us to madness sometimes. Tonight, we are becoming mad. No, I shall not do that, said Prabhupada. Babaji Maharaj, Prabhupada turned to this Kinchana Krishna that Babaji Maharaj and said, just see how much affection they have for me. So Prabhupada said to my Krishna, the way you deal with us simply deepens our attachment every moment. It is my duty, said Prabhupada, and the devotees laughed warmly, understanding. Yes, they could understand that was his duty. By all his actions and dealings, Prabhupada's intention was to capture spirit souls and deliver them to Krishna. His method was loving service, but he did not do it for himself. He was delivering them to Krishna. That was his duty. On November 14, 1977, at 7:30 p.m., in his room at the Krishna Brother Mandir in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada gave his final instruction by leaving this mortal world and going back to Godhead. His departure was exemplary because his whole life was exemplary. His departure marked the completion of a lifetime of pure devotional service to Krishna. A few days before the end, Srila Prabhupada had said he was instructing as far as he could, and his secretary had added, you are the inspiration. Yes, Srila Prabhupada had replied, that I shall do until the last breathing. Prabhupada's last breathing was glorious, not because of any last-minute mystical demonstration, but because Srila Prabhupada remained in perfect Krishna consciousness. Like grandfather Bhismadev, he remained completely collected and noble and grave, teaching until the end. He was preaching that life comes from life, not from matter. And he was showing that one should preach with every breath he has. The many devotees who crowded the large room bore witness up to the very end. Prabhupada remained exactly the same. There was nothing suddenly incongruous and with what he had previously shown and taught them. At the time of his departure, therefore, he was teaching how to die by always depending on Krishna. Prabhupada's passing away was peaceful. During the evening of November 14, the Kaviraj asked him, is there anything you want? And Prabhupada replied faintly, Kut icha nahi. I have no desire. His passing away was in a perfect situation in Vrindavan with devotees. A few months previously, a young girl, the daughter of one of Prabhupada's disciples, had passed away in Vrindavan. And when Srila Prabhupada had been asked if she went back to Godhead, to personally, as she said with Krishna, he said yes. He had said yes. Anyone who leaves his body in Vrindavan is liberated. Of course, Vrindavan also means the state of pure Krishna consciousness. As our daughter Acharya had said of Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are is Vrindavan. And this was also true of Srila Prabhupada. Had Srila Prabhupada passed away in London, New York, or Moscow, therefore, his destination would have been the same. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, one who is always thinking of me, surely he attains to me. But because Vrindavan Dham is a quintessential realm of Krishna consciousness within the universe, the ideal place for departure from this world. So it was yet another exemplary future of Srila Prabhupada's life, that he went back to Godhead with Vrindavan as his last junction. Those Vaishnavas who had taken the vow never to leave Vrindavan could see that Srila Prabhupada, after sacrificing everything, including the benefit of residing in Vrindavan, to deliver fallen souls in the most God-forsaken locations of the world, had returned to the holy land of Vrindavan, and from there had departed for the original abode of Lord Krishna in the spiritual sky. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, anyone who executes service in Vrindavan certainly goes back to home, back to Godhead, after giving up his body. So the Prabhupada's departure was also perfect because he was chanting and hearing the holy names of God. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present at the Prabhupada's passing, just as he was at the celebrated passing away of Bhismadev, who said, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. As Lord Krishna came before Bhismadev, assuring him and everyone else that Bhisma was returning back to Godhead on leaving his body, so the Lord in his incarnation of Nam Avatar, the Hare Krishna mantra, was present for Srila Prabhupada's departure. Srila Prabhupada's life had been dedicated to spreading the holy name to every town and village, and for a month he had been surrounding himself with the holy name. For this passing away, he especially wanted to fill the room with the devotees chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna fulfilled that wish. So the Prabhupada, therefore, departed under the most favorable circumstances possible in the most sacred place, Vrindavan, surrounded by Vaishnavas chanting the holy name. An ideal spiritual teacher, Acharya, always acts in such a way that others may follow his example. As Srimad Bhagavatam states, these great souls who cross over the ocean of birth and death by taking shelter of the boot of the lotus feet of Krishna, miraculously leave the boat on this side for others to use. And Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, by its perfect example, afford all conditions show the means for meeting the greatest of all dangers. An auspicious death is not merely a matter of psychological adjustment, so that one may die without regret or without becoming unduly upset. The real point is that at the time of death, the soul must leave the body and take its next birth. Only the Krishna conscious soul can leave this world of birth and death and attain an eternal blissful life in the spiritual world. Therefore, one's life is tested at death. Death means the soul cannot stand to live in the body anymore. Whatever the material cause may be, the situation has become unbearable for the soul, and leaving the body causes great distress. The Shastras therefore advise us to get free from the cycle of repeated birth and death, meaning meeting an auspicious death and being dragged down to a lower birth is the most fearful thing for the living being. So fearful is it that we may try to ignore death altogether. Death is painful because the eternal spirit soul is placed in the most unnatural situation. Although he is eternal and should not live, should not have to die, he is forced to die because of his connection with the material body. At death, the eternal soul is forced to leave the body for a destination he knows not. Thus he is full of fear and suffering. The pain and fear is usually overwhelming, and one thinks only of material attachment or bodily pain. Therefore, King Kulasekara replied, and Prabhupada often quoted, "Please let me pass away, not in some prolonged contemplation of my bodily death, but just while I am chanting Hare Krishna. If I can meditate on you and then pass from this body, that will be perfection." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the I want to ask you this. Based on what you just read. It appears that it was described that the soul leaves the body, and that is talking about the mature, or rather somebody's body that is already either old or very sick. So the description of leaving the body is there. Then what I want to ask is, what of the soul that is forced out of the body, like a young person who died of accident? That time, so the body is very strong and no invalidity. Then the soul just leaves the body. So how is the soul going to continue the completion of the duration of life given to the soul to stay in that body?
If the soul leaves the body before the time, like these days, people are unnecessarily interfering with nature, so much interfering with nature. every soul has a particular amount of time to live in that body. Terminating the body before the time is an interference in nature's arrangement, nature's plan, which is very dangerous. If it does happen, the soul will not go to the next destination because I have not finished the term in that body. So it will remain in the ghost body until that time is finished before he will go for judgment for the next body. Here in Africa, recently also somebody asked, it has been an experience. And so one devotee asked me a few days ago of one of their relatives who left the body. And they saw the person in a different place, having a shop, selling things there. It was there. And after some years, someone who is a relative passed by and saw the person. And the person disappeared. So he was asking me, what does that mean? So it was the time now for that person to leave. Then somebody who knows him or her will identify. But before you identify that, the person will disappear. That means all the while the person was staying there as a ghost. He was not, or he or she was not living there as a normal person, but he was having a ghostly body. And sometimes they reflect. Sometimes they reflect that the person can be seen. Generally, ghostly beings are not physically seen most of the time, but sometimes they manifest. You can see. So the soul will not go back to, it will not go to the next destination. It has to wait for the period. It has to exist in that body to expire before the next situation to be arranged. That's how it works.
So,
right?
What you are saying now is that, for example, somebody is destined to live 70 years and he dies at the age of 50. The other 20 years will remain in ghostly body.
Yes.
Until when the 70 years complete, then
if they will finish, then they can change, can go for the next life. The 20 remaining years, it goes to body.
That's why we need a continuation of my question. Like the scripture says that once somebody is given birth to, is also qualified to die at any time. So now, assuming like the newborn babies and then still the premature people by age and they die, somebody who may probably have been chanting Hare Krishna, for instance, and then at the time of that death, he remembers Krishna. And how would you explain that? Will you still go back to become a ghost until, assuming he remembers?
If somebody lives, for example, if a child leaves the body, and sometimes see that the child is already born normally, and then after some time the child leaves, it means that the child still has a few days remaining. She has to come and complete it. After a few days we go. We don't see this thing, we see things externally. So we say, oh, a child left the body. Yes, the child has left because the previous life didn't complete it. You have to take birth to complete that space. So maybe 3 months or 1 year or 2 years, the child lived earlier. That means it is not completed. If you look at it spiritually, then you can see. Material we don't see. So even if the person lived by accident, that is not a qualification or disqualification. It's a means the soul has to leave the body. But the main thing is the karma that follows the person. That's the main thing. And as you are saying, so suppose the person is a Hare Krishna devotee. He chanted Hare Krishna. At the time, it's good thing, remember Krishna. But Krishna said, anyone who remember, even is a child or adult, whatever we remember, we take to that. So if the person remember Krishna, he will take to Krishna. If you remember Krishna, that is glorious. That means the person has performed very well. So Krishna helps the person to remember. But it's not easy. It's not easy like that to remember Krishna. One must have a very high quality devotional practice. Like Krishna or the Guru will help the person to remember Krishna. Kulasekara Maharaj is praying because it's very difficult. To remember Krishna, it is Krishna who will help us to remember him, not by ourselves. And Krishna will see the quality of our practice before he will help us to do that, to remember him. Then we attain him. So it depends on how Krishna conscious we are. Then the arrangement is made accordingly. Alright? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.